treat them responsibly by killing them? So a while back, I posted this video, Vegan YouTubers Call Out My Ignorance, about socialism, and some people were kind of upset that I didn't include this video from Thought Slime. I didn't because I was using my 3 strikes system, and he got 3 strikes before making any anti-capitalist or socialism arguments, but I still get people asking me if I'm gonna make a response to the video, so I figured I would. This is gonna be a 2-parter, and it's not gonna be following the strike system. I'm just gonna respond to everything because, again, we wouldn't get very far if I were giving strikes. Part 1 is gonna be focused on the non-capitalist stuff, the first few minutes of the video, and then part 2 will be focused on the rest of the video.
And I've been vegan for the past 6 years or so. Very little actually tempts me to eat of the forbidden flesh at this point. That is until other vegans, particularly white vegans like myself, start speaking. It makes me want to eat animal products out of shame, so that people don't associate me with them. You know exactly the type of shit I'm talking about. Some complete skunk ape tumbles butt backwards into a discussion of indigenous hunting rights to say that actually, all hunting is wrong.
I know that he's joking about vegans making him not want to be vegan, but I just want to comment on it because there are non-vegans who seriously make this argument. I remember Furious Pete basically tweeting that years ago, that if more vegans were nice to him like I was, that he would consider going vegan. It's amazing they don't see what a self-own that is. You're so obsessed with public opinion, you won't do the right thing for fear of being seen as weird, crazy, extreme, whatever, or you won't do the right thing because people are mean. Anyway, his comments on indigenous hunting, at least this part of it, is fine.
Some complete skunk ape tumbles butt backwards into a discussion of indigenous hunting rights to say that actually, all hunting is wrong.
It is ridiculous to believe that all hunting is wrong. Some people have to hunt to live. There's also the invasivore argument, which is that it might be a net positive overall to eat certain invasive species. But this ultimately is not what Thought Slime is saying.
No settler on stolen indigenous land has the right to condemn traditional indigenous hunting practices.
So all indigenous hunting, regardless of the reason for that hunting, is ethical? Is that what he's saying? Or maybe it's not, but just we aren't allowed to talk about it because we're white? Honestly, I doubt he's thought too deeply about this. A lot of the super social justice-y, more irrational types make this sort of argument a lot. But ultimately what he and others are saying is that one group or race of people that he's identified as settlers can't criticize another group of people that he's identified as indigenous because of some inherited racial sin. White people bear some sort of responsibility for the actions of our ancestors. I'm guessing it doesn't matter if the settlers' grandparents were born here. I'm guessing it doesn't matter that all humans in North America migrated here at some point in history, or that different tribes of pre-European North Americans were killing each other, enslaving each other, torturing, scalping each other, stealing land from each other long before white people arrived. I don't say this to disparage First Nations people. Literally all humans, unless they were really super isolated, engaged in heinous shit, in terrible tribal warfare. Anybody who believes there's some pure human lineage with no history of xenophobic conquest, they've got a lot to learn. And if they think that ancestral purity is morally relevant to the descendants of those lineages, pretty racist. Thought Slime's claim is racist in 2 ways, actually, against the settlers for asserting inherited original sin, and also against the indigenous peoples for suggesting that they aren't capable of rational thought or moral growth. Actions can be justified by need, again, hunting because you need to eat, but not by culture. Whether that criticism is actually useful, is effective, that's a different matter. But making claims about the right to make the argument based on one's race or ethnicity, not great. Now, I think all of this comes from a good place. I talked about this in my response to the kind of woke is veganism wrong video, but ultimately it's just infantilizing. It's trying to put people into some sort of mental or moral confinement, some sort of safe space, kind of, right? Because he doesn't think they're sophisticated enough to handle veganism. I think we should respect people enough to be honest, to not draw arbitrary lines based on skin color or one's ancestors. Culture changes all the time. It's no justification for cruelty. If my culture of Southern barbecue and fried chicken doesn't justify cruelty, then neither does someone's culture of hunting.
Indigenous people were living sustainably with the land for thousands of years until we showed up and fucked everything up for them. And I think it's a little rich to then decide that since we can't treat animals responsibly, we have the moral high ground to people that have demonstrated that they can.
Treat them responsibly? By killing them? Again, he's not talking about hunting for survival. He's talking about people with a certain background hunting. Hunting just because your ancestors hunted is not ethical. You might as well say that my Memphis culture of Gus's fried chicken is ethical because it's my culture. You can't question it. Or maybe he just takes issue with factory farming, again, talking about the living sustainable. It sounds like that may be more of his issue. I could rescue a bunch of chickens and kill and eat them. Would that be treating them responsibly? As far as is possible and practicable does not give a pass to culture or someone's desire to live like their ancestors or something. It's for like, you're a child, you have to eat what your parents give you, you're institutionalized, you have severe allergies or digestive issues, food security issues, or financial issues. The only argument I think you could make for culture, and it's not really for culture, would be if someone would be extremely ostracized or isolated by going vegan, by their family, by their friends, etc. I think that would be a pretty good argument against that person going vegan if they're not able to get out of the situation, right? There's a lot that goes along with something like that. And I certainly would be sympathetic towards someone in such a situation where their family and their friends, their culture is so hostile to veganism. But again, that has to do with the person's own mental health and ability to be happy. It doesn't have to do with culture in and of itself. Point is, we can be understanding, we can be sympathetic of others' situations without tiptoeing around everything and being so careful and so worried about offending people. Killing animals just to kill animals is wrong. Period.
If you disagree with that, you're probably just a racist.
The irony of someone who just expressed beliefs that are dictionary definition racism.
No settler on stolen indigenous land has the right to condemn traditional indigenous hunting practices.
Calling the people who disagree with those beliefs racists. Okay. The null hypothesis, the assumed position that doesn't need to be defended, is that people are cognitively and morally equal and free to exchange ideas regardless of race or ethnicity. If you want to argue something else, which he clearly does, then the burden of proof is on him. Assertions and character assassination just don't cut it.
PETA out there saying eating a chicken sandwich is literally the Holocaust. No, it isn't, PETA.
I don't really like those comparisons because I think they're just inflammatory and ultimately counterproductive, but they're counterproductive because people misrepresent them, misinterpret them, just like Thought Slime did. He's saying that comparing two things is equating two things. And just FYI, this quote is actually from a Holocaust survivor, Isaac Singer, or more specifically from a character in one of his books, speaking to his own beliefs. And his grandson still champions the cause. Like the victims of the Holocaust, animals are rounded up, trucked hundreds of miles to the kill floor, and slaughtered. Comparisons to the Holocaust are not only appropriate, but inescapable, because whether we wish to admit it or not, cows, chickens, pigs, and turkeys are as capable of feeling loneliness, fear, pain, joy, and affection as we are. To those who defend the modern-day Holocaust on animals by saying that animals are slaughtered for food and give us sustenance, I ask, if the victims of the Holocaust had been eaten, would that have justified the abuse and murder? Did the fact that lampshades, soaps, and other useful products were made from their bodies excuse the Holocaust? No. Pain is pain. My grandfather wrote, as long as human beings will go on shedding the blood of animals, there will never be any peace. There is only one little step from killing animals to creating gas chambers a la Hitler. There will be no justice as long as man will stand with a knife or with a gun and destroy those who are weaker than he is. We all have the power to stop suffering and misery every time we sit down to eat. It's a really powerful analogy, but like I said, I think it's fairly counterproductive no matter who it's coming from. I just don't think people are ready to hear it. And as a result of that, I think it seems to pretty clearly cause more resistance than understanding.
And while I think veganism is generally the morally superior option for those that can live on it, I don't think I'm anyone's moral superior. I don't have the right to sit in judgment of how you or anyone else in the world eats. Considering all of the plastic I waste on Beyond Meat burgers, I don't think I'm in a position to do that.
So I truly don't know if he's making a joke here, so I'm gonna, I guess, kind of assume that this is serious. I apologize if I am missing something, if I'm just being like socially inept. Obviously, no one is perfect, and obviously plastic packaging often isn't ideal. And I do think it's good for vegans to express this, to express that veganism isn't about moral superiority or about non-vegans being evil. But I also think that these super social justice-y types like Thought Slime often take it to the extreme, where they're seemingly constantly looking for excuses for bad behavior, constantly looking for a reason to give non-vegans a pass or even to demonize vegans. Again, I think it's coming from a good place. I think it's coming from a place of compassion because they don't want to criticize anyone or anyone's habits or, dietary choices. But ultimately, it leads to beliefs like hunting by certain people because of their ethnicity, because of their background, can't be questioned. And what he just said.
Considering all of the plastic I waste on Beyond Meat burgers, I don't think I'm in a position to do that.
Some plastic packaging is in no way comparable to breeding animals into a life of suffering and death. And even if he was making a joke, again, there are non-vegans who actually seriously say this. Like, Beyond Burgers are just as bad because they're wrapped in plastic, so, vegans are bad too. Eating animals and most animal byproducts for the majority of people living in the developed world is a terrible thing to do. Using plastic packaging is debatably bad. And when that plastic packaging is accompanied by Beyond Burger or some other plant-based meat, it's very likely still a net good.
I'm not particularly familiar with Unnatural Vegan. The only thing I know about her is the one time she on accident fully endorsed eugenics, and Faye Fahrenheit had to explain, actually, preemptively aborting disabled people is evil.
I believe a woman should have access to any and all information regarding her pregnancy that she thinks is relevant information, including information about the fetus. And I believe the choice to carry a pregnancy to term or to abort the fetus should be up to the woman who is pregnant. With that information, I believe most women will act in the interest of their would-be children, and they'll make the compassionate choice to abort if the child will have some debilitating condition that will severely impact quality of life. Supporting a mother's choice to have an abortion due to birth defects that could cause a child to live an unhappy life or could put a family into serious financial hardship due to medical costs has nothing to do with eugenics. Eugenics is defined as an intentionally coercive policy that seeks to systemically optimize the genetics of a population. If there's no coercion involved, it's not eugenics. If the goal isn't systemic or population-wide and it's not specifically genetic, then it's not eugenics. But if people really want to broaden the definition in the way that Thought Slime has, that's fine. It just means that virtually everyone is pro-eugenics, including Thought Slime. Or does he think the anti-eugenics bill in North Carolina that would ban abortions based on a Down syndrome diagnosis is good, actually?
You'd think that someone whose whole thing is about valuing the lives of animals might stop and think, hey, it's kind of fucked up that I'm saying some human lives inherently have no value.
It's not some human lives. No first or second trimester fetus has innate moral value, in my view, because they're not sentient. It's not inherently morally wrong to abort them for any reason, even if it's just that someone doesn't want a baby right now, even if it's just because they want one boy and one girl. Once the person is sentient, then obviously they do have moral value regardless of a disability, even a severe one that makes them suffer terribly. It's for this reason, because they do have moral value, that we should start being as kind to our fellow humans as we are to our pets, making euthanasia available so that a baby who is suffering terribly from some terminal condition can finally be given peace. Just to be clear, because I know this is going to be twisted beyond belief, I do not consider every disability, missing a leg or being deaf or being blind as justification for euthanasia. A mother is not wrong for bringing such a child into the world, and obviously it's not totally black and white. There are certain conditions where it's just not clear whether or not an abortion would be the most compassionate choice. What I'm specifically talking about are more severe and painful conditions that for most people would genuinely make life not worth living. So that's part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, part 2 will be focused on the socialism stuff, the more political stuff, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, click the like. If you want to be notified when I upload, click the bell. You can subscribe. That would be cool. You can also support the channel at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan for $5 plus patrons. I post 2 little exclusive videos there. I just posted one talking in detail about our experience at a local amusement park with the kiddos. It was super fun. My other one this month was it was a reaction to someone, a reaction video that just ended up being, I don't know, just kind of mean. I didn't like it. I didn't like it, so I gave it to patrons. I also have shirts. I also have an Amazon store page that I never talk about because I just forget that I even have it. But I do, and I have several recommendations there, some books and cooking equipment, and I don't even know. I think it's mostly books and cooking equipment. I should add more stuff on there. Anyway, thanks again. New video soon. I couldn't keep the long hair. It was killing me. It was so annoying. It's so long. And I just realized that I'd been keeping it up pretty much every day, all the time. So I just can't do long hair anymore. I'm just too irritable to keep up with long hair. I probably need to clean it up some because it was just a real quick lopping off of the hair. I just can't even be bothered. It's hair. Who cares? Which is bullshit, because if I really didn't care, I would just shave my head. How amazing. That must feel just so amazing. Just not have hair. Just go in the shower. You're done. Oh my God. You don't have to wash the rest of your body when you shave your head, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but fun little fact. I don't know if you can see my hair moving a little bit. Partner put our new fan on the super, super low setting. It is incredible. By far the most incredible fan I've ever seen. It's called Vornado. I don't even want to say how much. Well, you know what? I didn't buy it. I didn't choose it. He did. So yeah, it was like $100. It was like $100 fan and a huge upgrade because we were using this old random fan that I think we found somewhere. I think we got it from Goodwill. I think we just found it and it was already old. And yeah, you had to like prime it. You had to like spin the blades before pushing the on button to get it going. Yeah, so it was good. But now we have this one. Oh, it's incredible. I can barely hear anything and it's just blowing this nice gentle breeze on me. Sometimes it's nice to have the quality stuff, you know?